Hey, girlfriend, you know who you are. You have big, big dreams. You want to write a book, stand on a TED Talk stage, be a life coach offering wisdom from your RV in Montana, a cafe in Barcelona, or a beach chair in Tulum. Your other girlfriends and your family, they don't always get your biz savvy. Why do you want to leave your JOB? Because you're a C.A.T.S, aka coach, author, thought leader, and speaker. Meet other change makers like yourself and find out how they make it happen. This is the Big Meow podcast.
Hello, girlfriends. It's Kristen White, and I'm here with Shanalee Sharboneau. Hi, Shanalee.
Hi, Kristen.
So I am a mother myself, and your story really touched me. So let's just jump right in. I mean, I want to hear all about what happened with your son and this incredible book that came out of it.
Thank you. No, it was pretty amazing. I tell people all the time, I was a vice president of a medical device company. You know, I did all the right things, went to school and met this handsome man, had this lovely son, and I'd say I could manage 35 people, but when I had my son, I couldn't do anything. Like I didn't know what to do.
It's amazing, right?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, one child. I can't help one child. But no, he was born very, very ill. He had severe reflux. This is occurring quite frequently with quite a few babies, and is the reason why I speak about it often. His diaphragm wasn't formed, and what happened was the food would come right up. We almost lost him twice. He was drowning. And in the craziness of literally, my husband and I stayed awake for 6 solid months. And you wonder how you could do that. But as you know, as a mom, you do whatever it takes.
You're like Superwoman.
You've got these amazing abilities. And in my delirium in the middle of the night, I started singing the song to him, and the song it was just words to beg him to stay alive and all the things that I would do with him. Wrote the words down, publisher found it. The book went international in 90 days. And now moms and now dads, because I did the dad version, sing the song to their kids all over the world.
Well, we have to ask you to sing the song.
Oh my gosh. I really don't like this part because I'm not a good singer, but the way it does go, and you're about the third person in 7 years that I've done this with, but it goes, my mama loves me, my mama sings to me, my mama makes my dreams come true, my mama walks with me, my mama talks with me, and it continues, my mama listens to my thoughts. And I cried through that. I have a hard time not to now, but the good news is he's 12 and he's healthy. And, the book, because of those words, what ended up happening, and I think what ends up happening with kids that have moms and parents that read this book, is they realize those actions are forms of love. Mm-hmm. So you can ask my 12-year-old, does your mom love you? And a lot of kids go, yeah, of course, mom, you love me. But my son and children who tend to get this book will say, it's because they listen to me, they talk to me, they pick me up to school, they cook. So every day now, my son knows I love him without me having to say it, though we all do, and you still get the eye roll, So
my kids are 19, 23, 25, and 28. So I do remember being in those trenches. And, I really love that you took this time of adversity and turned it into something powerful and magical and healing. And I think that's so important because sometimes when we have these experiences, they are there as like this catalyst for something greater that then we can go out and take out into the world, this ripple effect.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And the best experience that I had, and when it happened, I told my husband, I said, I can die now because I did one thing and
don't go anywhere.
Yeah. And I had a friend who called me and said, I've got a friend who's having problems with her son. And it reminds me just what you did with Braden. And I just, please send her a book, whatever I owe you. And I said, you don't owe me anything. She said, send the book. just today. And I was like, okay, I'll switch some things around. Cause as a mom, you're like, oh my gosh, today's completely booked, and sent it. 6 months passes by. I go down to South Potter Island to do book signing. And this woman walks in with this itty bitty boy and a young girl. And she says, I know you, but you don't know who I am. And I said, well, nice to finally meet you. She goes, no, you don't get it. She said, your book was sent by that friend. And when I got to the back of it, I realized my son had severe reflux. I rushed him into the emergency room, told him he had severe reflux, that the other doctor had misdiagnosed it, and they put him on IVs, and they told her if she would not have done that, he wouldn't be with us 7 days later. Aww. Because he was so malnutrition. So yes, if that story could touch people and realize maybe what their child has, or just give them love and make children know that they are loved and what that looks like, not just that they are loved, but what those actions are. Thank you for that though.
I love that story. And I wrote about this in my book, Voice, that your life may be a map for someone else who is lost, that, we all have these experiences. And when we go to that next step and we put them together and we write a book, or we speak from a stage, or we create some type of transformational program, the impact that you have because you've walked those steps on that journey, just maybe even only a few steps in front of someone else, you can literally save lives, which is exactly what happened with your book.
Yeah. And I agree with you. So many women and moms, it drives me nuts because they go, well, I wish I could do something, or maybe I should write a book. And okay, well, what do you think the book should be about? Because I do help a lot of authors, because it's a hard path, as you know.
Oh yeah.
That's not easy. And to find the right people doing the right things. And I say, well, they go, but it's not as good as what you wrote about. So I asked them, what do you want to write about? Well, I kind of solved this cancer cell, but it was no big deal. And then I kind of figured out how to do this contraption that saved lives. And I'm like, why do you not believe that's awesome? I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but the things they come up with is that is fantastic. Why are you not writing these things down? Why are you not sharing these things? Because they're important.
I think that just from being a mother myself, and I'm sure you can relate to this, I had this whole identity before I was a mother, right? I worked in TV news, I was, doing the show every night. And then I had these children, I stopped working to raise them. And suddenly I'm one of 30 silver minivans in the school parking lot. I didn't even know which one was mine. Okay. You just become this anonymous person. I was Jack's mom or Ian's mom or Samantha's mom. And I just became very anonymous, and it was fine, because I think that is that path of being a mother. Sometimes, you're just putting so much energy and creativity into making sure that your kids grow up okay. And I think that also though edits us, and we don't feel like what we have to say is valuable, that our voice is strong enough to share. I think that it's something that happens to a lot of moms, is that, I call it a little bit being lost in the diaper bag, we get a little confused about, who we are or who our next identity is, because, we can have that identity before motherhood, and then we have motherhood, and then we have this identity after motherhood, but we don't have to wait till, they've all gone to college to start that after motherhood identity.
I love that. And that's perfect. And I have spent time with that as well, because as this vice president powerhouse, and then you get into this other world and you're
right.
What do I do with this? And I have challenged moms. I think, my mother-in-law and my mother were the generation that, things were happening, and we were getting more rights and more challenges and more ability to do a lot of great things. And my mother put it perfectly when my son turned 2 or 3, and she said, I thought that was awesome that women could really do whatever they wish. She said, I just had one question. What about the kids? And I thought that was very powerful, because I think what we did was we went into the workforce and went, oh my gosh, we don't have enough hours of the day. This doesn't work together. So I've challenged myself to continue that new mom, that new person, to be able to make my son into a beautiful, productive member of society that helps people and does great things and lives the biggest life he can live. And I challenge myself to do the same. It's not easy. That's very difficult. And I agree with you, especially when you transition for something that's just show up at this time, you just knock it out of the park and you go home. And then you think you're exhausted and then you have kids.
That was nothing.
Oh my God. You're like, seriously. I mean, how many times I've stood over my son's bed at 10:30 going, it's mommy's turn. Mommy's going to bed. You can stay up.
I know, you're like, please go to sleep, please. That's so funny.
I have
Well,
another
so
man at
you-
the house call your father, and I don't know who he is anymore because of you. I love you, but please let me go see your dad for 10 minutes.
That's awesome. So you got some incredible fun recognition for your book. Tell us the full title and then tell us who some of the awards and the recognition you've got received.
Yeah,
for it.
it's crazy. So the first book I came up with was My Mama Loves Me, I'm a Little Boy. This is what started it all. And this is myself and my son, you know. Again, I thought this was just going to be one of those, hey, isn't it fun that I did this thing? And it turned into something totally different. So if you look, it's just, you know,
so cute.
Yeah, mom and son just traveling all through the world, doing things. This is actually kind of, and they're all valid. This is a scene from Africa. A lot of the compilations, I mean, I stayed consistent with bodies of water, with animals. I did a lot of research and I wanted to make sure it was legit. Then it turned into the daddy book. So we did this, and then I just released the grandma book. So now grandma is now going along with the granddaughter. But so yeah, totally different life. I did the one book thinking this was going to be great. I got a call from a producer from a show called Maybe America Forward with William Shatner. Now I'm a Trekkie. I was like, what? And knew nothing about media, knew nothing about any of this type of situation, and was interviewed by Doug Llewellyn. I'm sure you remember him.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a little bit aged like me to know who that guy is. And talked about the book. By the time the book released, went onto the show with William Shatner and Doug Llewellyn, it already made it internationally. And it already went all over the place. So that was nuts. So yeah, that was crazy. Then, you know, talking about pushing yourself and getting recognition, I sent my book off to Dave Ramsey just because I did that program. And I said, look what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to follow your advice and do great things. And the president of Ireland, which is a huge deal in my family. My father's Irish, all things Ireland. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And
I have a little Irish in me too, so
that's great. That's
I think we all do, right?
Yeah, right. The Irish are, yeah, crazy. And he came back and he said, we want to recognize you as an Irish American who has done something very awesome in the world and has brought this to the world itself. And let me tell you, to bring that letter and recognition to your Irish father, I mean, he cried for about 10 seconds.
That's awesome.
And then he got his breath and said, let's go get a drink. And I said, yep, let's go do that.
Time to celebrate.
Yeah, time to celebrate. So yes, that's awesome. So I've got that letter hanging up in my office with this signature.
So what would you say to someone who is thinking about putting their voice out in the world, whether it's writing a book or just starting that process of exploring it? What advice would you give them?
The first thing I would say to them is cut it out. And what I mean by that is do it. Mm-hmm. We spent so much time and energy. I shouldn't do this. Cut that out. I can't do this. Cut that out. It's not important enough for people to know. Cut that out. And when I talk to women, friends, because a lot of people do come to me and say, how the heck did you do this? Now, luckily, I had just been to my life coach at the time, and he said, and I was upset at my husband and just, you know, hands flailing, and I just want to live this great big life. Go crazy. And he won't let me. And he said, why are you waiting? And I said, I'm not waiting. He goes, no. Let's take Perry out of it. You're waiting.
Mhm.
And that week is the week that I had met my first publisher and did it. So what are you waiting for? And do it. And what do you have to lose? And yes, maybe you won't tell your parents or your husband or whatever. You should tell your husband.
Not till later.
Yeah, right. Not till later. I did this crazy thing. But you will get to a point in life, and we all think it is, you don't want to look back and go, all I had to do was write it down. Like there was a moment when my son turned 3, and I wrote that poem down just so he could sing it to his children. And I think all the time when things are going well, such as being invited to your show, and I think to myself, what if I would have never written that down? Where would I be today? I'd probably still be happy. I'd probably still be working, at wherever.
But you had that divine inspiration, right? Like that's what happens is it just kind of, it's this little spark of intuition that I think we have. And if we pay attention to us, it illuminates everything. And I love what you said, because this is so true really to anyone who's listening. What you want is actually waiting for you already. It's there. It's just waiting for you to connect to it. I think that's why that happened for you, just like a flash of lightning, because it was already waiting for you and you just had to follow that little bit of intuition, jot a couple things down, and then all the synchronicity and the magic and all the things that need to click into place just unfold.
Well, and I just recently admitted to this, and I've been talking more frequently about it. You talk about divine intervention. When I was singing that song to my son, I tell people now, it was like listening to a radio. It wasn't the song was kind of
confirmation.
Right. It's awesome. And it started off like this, and I knew the angel was in the room, and he and I were working together, and it was like, get this verse down now, Shanalee. Now it's this verse. And for the longest time, I wouldn't admit to that. And then as the book has, it's won 5 medals nationally and internationally. God can only do those things. That's it. You can't work enough hours of the day to pull off what this book has done. So I think a lot of women are touched divinely. And maybe if the only way they can move is to think that this is a bigger mission than themselves, then take that, because we all have to start helping each other. We're there, and we do help each other, but we need to step forward and not have that inhibition, because we need each other.
Absolutely. That's why I created this whole C.A.T.S network, is because we all just have to be together and create a community and support one another. So where can we find these fabulous books?
Oh, thank you. No, it's all over. You can go to Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. My website is, I ended up doing the Shanalee just because my name goes on forever. So, and yeah, anywhere you would find books. We are really pushing to get it into boutique stores, because I believe in those stores. And I think that's where the experience really happens. So feel free, if you go to your local boutique store and you don't find it, they can totally order it for you. Yeah, everywhere.
Inspired by Angels. Thank you for being with me today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Kristen. I really appreciate y'all.
Thanks for listening to the Big Meow podcast, sponsored by C.A.T.S Network. If you liked what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. You can also join our network filled with positivity and possibility. Visit www.catsnetworking.com to join us and learn more, together with your magical, motivated, and mystical new friends at C.A.T.S Network. Let's transform 1 million lives with your message. Are you feeling isolated, sitting at home in your PJs? Or perhaps you're tired of the comfy sweatpants with holes in them that are hidden just below the camera? You could puke at the thought of another day of Zoom meetings and reporting to your BOSS. Do you want freedom from your home office desk or the office cubicle? Do you want freedom from your current career? Or are you frustrated that your online biz dreams are going nowhere? It's all too overwhelming. Where do you start? All the tech, the choices, and your message. Yep, I said your message, your brand, your voice. What is it? Do you even know what that means? Do you need a biz coach but don't want to invest the big bucks? Let's face it, being a solopreneur is lonely, but you don't have to do it alone. And here's a solution. Join C.A.T.S Network. C.A.T.S Network is a woman-only membership community exclusively available to you, the life coach or executive coach, the author, the thought leader, or the public speaker. If you identify with this list or want to work on adding some of these to your skill set, C.A.T.S is the place for you. Check us out at www.catsnetworking.com. That's C-A-T-S networking.com. Because let's face it, cats are better together.